For personalised, private, no waiting, in-home care. rightathome.com.au. This is Without Bias on SEN.
Hello and welcome to Without Bias here on 1116 SEN, your home of sport. Val Febbo here with you for Bowls Australia. Right at home, the right care, right at home, Australia's premier in-home care provider, and Tripadeal. Roll into your next holiday with Tripadeal. A massive show coming up tonight because we've got Jack Lewis, the best player at the National Development Series a couple of weeks ago at Club Helensvale. But before we get to him, we've got the orchestrator of the National Development Series, Bowls Australia's high performance manager, Rebecca Van Asch, former Jackaroo as well, Com Games gold medalist, world champion. She's done it all. Beck, welcome.
Thanks, Val. Good to be on here.
I want to ask you before we get into the NDS. Today marks 3 years to the day since Christina Christic, or Van Nierop as she's known now, and Alan Fife as Ryan as she was known then, won the Commonwealth Games gold medal, the women's pairs in Birmingham, and Aaron Wilson as well, winning the singles gold all on the same day. What memories do you have of that? You were part of the team and on the sidelines watching.
Yeah, it was a really spine-tingling moment. I know you were in the crowd as well, Val, and it was just like it was such a big day, and it felt like such a breakthrough for Team Australia because, you know, we'd been going to the Northern Hemisphere for such a long time, and Birmingham, just in general, that Commonwealth Games just felt like such a breakthrough performance for Australia in the Northern Hemisphere. So, you know, to crack through with claiming that third gold medal on that day. So, yeah, I don't know, everything about it. Like it was that particular pairs match had everything, didn't it? You know, it toed and froed from one side to the other and went to the extra end. It came down to that last bowl. It just, everything about it was just exciting. And from the sidelines, it was really nerve-wracking. It was horrible on the sidelines watching it and just feeling and playing every bowl. But look, on one hand, it feels like it was just yesterday. On the other hand, it feels like it was almost a lifetime ago. And I'm sure the girls feel like that as well. They've, gone through a lot in their personal lives as well, and their lives are very different now too. So, it's funny to think that it's 3 years to the day. It's crazy.
I know it has gone very quick. And I remember being there. I'm a very nervous sports watcher, especially when you're invested in the people as well. And that's why, that was one of the best moments I've seen in a sporting arena, especially seeing those two get the goal. But back to something that happened more recently, and that was the National Development Series. It was Team Blue that got the win for the first time in the overall. But what the event is about is to give the next generation of Australian stars the tools and the opportunity to play an event under the pressures and the rigorous World Bowls tournament conditions. So talk to us about how you found the event and how the players all went and how they adapted to, you know, some difficulties, some challenges, and how they took on feedback.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Val. I mean, our whole Performance Pathways program is centred around developing Australia's future champions. So, we've been really fortunate that we've enjoyed some immense success on the international stage by our Jackaroos and Para-Jackaroos now for the last, probably going on, we're into the second decade now, I guess, of that success. But we want to make sure that, you know, for decades to come, that we're still in that position. So, you know, that means that we need to invest in and put time and energy into developing those up-and-coming players. And particular focus for the National Development Series is on our emerging Jackaroos. And we also saw some of our Academy Jackaroos elevated up into getting spots for the National Development Series, which was really exciting. The whole plan that we kind of have in place for the National Development Series is to live the life of the Jackaroo on tour. So when the athletes step into the environment of the National Development Series, they're in their 4 individual teams. They're red, blue, green, yellow, and they have their designated coach, which is always headed up by one of our Performance Pathways coaches. But the whole format that the event takes replicates an international competition. So the five-a-side element, our open and our paras playing side by side, those sort of conditions for having a rinkside coach there, but also the stuff that the athletes need to do off the field as well. So they go through recovery practices at the end of the day to, help rejuvenate themselves and make sure that they're ready and raring to go the next day. They'll do post-match reporting back to their coaches and get feedback. They'll be receiving feedback reports over these next couple of weeks, just in general, on some key areas that they can keep working on moving forward. So, yeah, it's also an opportunity for them to perform in front of the national selectors who are always present at that event. They're doing some statting to give some feedback. They're there to watch them and see how they perform under pressure. They get put in all different positions. They could be leading one game. They could be skipping the next. They could be playing in the middle of an event the next one. They could be playing singles. You just never know. And that's part of it as well. We want to see the players' versatility. We want to see how they shine in certain positions, how they lead their teams. So hopefully that's the way the athletes felt about it. It's a learning experience for them, but an opportunity to perform, an opportunity to get to know other athletes from other states that they might have played against at times, but not necessarily with, and also get to work with other coaches. So it's an event that we hope has everything and, really hits that box of giving exposure and experience to understanding what it will be like when they get that opportunity and they break through to the Open or Para Jackaroos when the time comes.
How important is that mixture of open and para? Because that, I think that gives players, especially with the way that the sport is going in terms of international play over the next few years, we don't know how it's all going to look. So the fact that Australia's already playing with teams of open and para players, how important is that? And how have the open players adapted to playing with para teammates?
Look, I think, we could have taken some maybe more old-fashioned views and, had the open NDS on at one point and then a para NDS on at another time or something like that. But that doesn't replicate what the international competitions are like, which, we saw the World Championships that we hosted here in Australia in 2023, and we saw the Opens and the Paras playing side by side. We saw the finals played as one. It's one of the things that we love about our sport. We have our men and our women playing side by side. We have our Open and our Paras playing side by side. So it's something that I personally am really proud of with our sport, that we see that. We see it at the Commonwealth Games as well. I think with that as well, you can only imagine when we take teams away on tours, you see, like, say, the Australian men's cricket team and the Australian women's cricket team, they don't travel together. They don't play side by side. We take these guys and throw them into a plane together or a bus together, and we take them on tours for, it could be 1 week, it could be up to a month. And they have to live side by side. They have to train side by side and be used to one another. And then we've also got the added element of our Open and Paras as well. And it's just the little things, learning where, as open players off the green, you might be able to give a bit of assistance to your para teammate and just help them a little bit with some mobility things that you might be able to help with, lifting things. All of those, like, little things that just come with being used to travelling together, and you start to appreciate and learn those sort of things, just as our men and our women together learn that as well. So being able to incorporate that into the National Development Series, we think is really important because it gets the players used to what that expectation is going to be when they step up.
It's amazing, and I love the mixed element of it and how inclusive the event is, because it embodies our sport and how inclusive bowls is as a sport. So it is wonderful what you guys are doing there. And how have you seen the development of the alumni, I guess, of the NDS? Because we've seen the likes of Nathan Black, Nick Carl, Brianna Smith, they've all gone on to be right at home Jackaroos. So how have you seen the development of players that have played in it, that have gone on to the next level?
Yeah, and I think that's where, like, you only know if you're succeeding and you're hitting the marks that you want to do if you see the athletes actually progressing through that pathway. And, the whole Performance Pathways program is exactly about that. And we've seen some players now start with what used to be known as our Pathway Squad, which is now our state-based academies. We've seen athletes start from that, progress up to emerging and into the open ranks. And like you said, you've got excuse me, people like, Nathan Black and Kane Nelson. We see, like you said, Brianna. There's so many that have come through that. Cass Millerick was also an alumni through the program. So it's really heartening, and I know our pathways coaches, really feel like and know that they can see that their fruits of their labours, I guess, come into fruition when you actually see the athletes progressing through, and we can see that it's working, and we're learning from it as well. We're continually tweaking things. We've tweaked the format of the NDS over the years to really hit the mark of what we're trying to achieve. We're really fortunate that we've got some terrific support and funding through the Australian Sports Commission, which enables us to actually put on this Performance Pathways program, with the National Development Series being a part of that specific funding, which, is something that we're really grateful for and really proud of.
As you should be. It's an amazing event, and look forward to seeing how it does develop over the coming years. And have you already thought about things that you can change or tweak for next year's event?
Well, funny you should say that. We've actually got our debrief set up for next week, and I'll be catching up with the Performance Pathways coaches. We'll be touching base and just going through a few things to see, what areas we can keep building on and improving. The athletes have all been also given surveys, so we'll be taking on board their feedback as well, because it's really important to hear directly from them what they found beneficial, what they'd like to hear more of. We had our performance psychologist there at the event who put on some mental performance in competition workshops prior to the event commencing, those sort of things. If there's more that we can keep building on there to keep helping and developing the athletes, then that's what we're here for. That's what we want to keep trying to work on. And I do have to say that our pathways coaches are an extremely competitive bunch, Val.
I know.
So there's always something there with the four of them to see who will come out the victor. And we're 3 years in now. They've all nearly had a turn. So James Reynolds was our inaugural coach when Team Yellow won. Team Red won last year with Ian Ewing taking the honours. Lindsay Clark was pretty keen to get vengeance and get her win this year. So we saw that with Team Blue. And, Kelly Ray's the newest member of our Pathways coaching staff, and come away with the silver medal with the green team. So I'm sure she'll be really vying for that next year. So I love the banter between the coaches and the competitive nature, because the idea of the National Development Series is also for those coaches to get learnings and development as well. So, they're heading up their team, they're learning and how to, I guess, coach their teams better. What are some of the best feedback that they can give the athletes? What's the best way that they can really rev them up in the match? How can they get them more settled? We have our national coach, Gary Willis, and our national assistant coach, Karen Murphy, are at the event. They're there to give the coaches feedback as well and help teach them and develop them as they go through their own coaching pathway as well.
It's absolutely incredible, and I can't wait to see how it all goes over the next couple of years, and really interesting to see or to hear about that coach banter in the debrief next week. But Rebecca Van Asch, thank you so much for joining me on the show to talk about the NDS and what a wonderful initiative it is, and look forward to seeing it get bigger and better than ever in the coming years. So thank you for joining me on Without Bias.
Thanks heaps, Val, and I love getting to talk about NDS anytime.
Rebecca Van Asch joining me on Without Bias to talk all things National Development Series. Up next, we've got Jack Lewis, who was the best performed player at the NDS at Helensvale a couple of weeks ago. So looking forward to chatting to him right after this on Without Bias for Right at Home, the Right Care Right at Home, Australia's premier in-home care provider, and Tripadeal. Bucket list experiences at unbelievable prices, all thanks to Tripadeal. Val Febbo with you on Without Bias. We'll be back soon.
For personalised, private, no waiting, in-home care, rightathome.com.au. This is Without Bias on SEN.
You're listening to Without Bias here on 1116 SEN, your home of sport for bowls Australia. Right at Home, the Right Care Right at Home, Australia's premier in-home care provider, and Tripadeal. Roll into your next holiday with Tripadeal. Val Febbo here with you, and a big thank you to Beck Van Asch for joining me before to talk about the National Development Series. And, well, one of the victorious players and the best player statistically at the event, won the most matches, most points, most everything, was Jack Lewis from the blue team, and he joins me on the line now. Jack, welcome to the show. Great to have your company, mates. And how's it all sunk in after beating your peers at almost everything over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, Val, it was one of those things. I guess the previous year we got so close. I was fortunate enough to be on the Balloon team again with Linny as my coach. But this year to top it off, come away victors and really put on a strong performance was awesome.
And the team aspect of it, there were, I think, 2 more players on each team, so one able-bodied and one para. How did all of that go across the week? Because obviously there's more players, more people around rinks. That must have been good, I guess, just to get to know a few more people from the bowling community and the high-performance bowling community.
Yeah, for sure. We don't exactly get to spend too much time with our athletes within the sport, so it was awesome to get around them and, seeing what they're capable on the green, but let alone just being awesome teammates with them, mate. It was really good.
That's awesome. And your own form, doing so well at an event like this where they're training you to play in those World Bowls tournament conditions. How special is that for you, or rewarding, I guess, for you, to go out and be the best player at the event and have a really good record against players that you're sort of competing for spots with?
For me, I just try to go out there and compete and try and do my best for my teammates, whether that come away with a win or just minimising margins, so then you end up being there at the end of the competition. But, I just went in with an open mind and knew that everyone could play and just tried to do my best.
And in terms of your confidence, I know that you're a pretty laid-back character. You've got a lot of support as well, which is great. But your confidence, you've had the Oceania Challenge where you enjoyed a really good week overseas last year, representing the green and gold for the first time. And then you go to the NDS, do really well. How sky high is your confidence? Is it the most confident that you've been as a bowler?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. It probably shows with how much time and effort that I've been putting on the green that it's actually coming through with results, which is really awesome. Just to know that I can compete with players of that sort of caliber is really, really, reassuring for myself, moving forward, and just gives myself the confidence that I need in those moments.
And when you look at the NDS as a whole, what was, you've played in a lot of them now, and there's been 3, and I feel like your development continues to blossom after each one. What was the thing that you took out of this one more so than the other ones? So obviously you're starting from a certain base, then you work your way up, and then, what was the goal leading into this one, and what did you take away?
For me, mate, this was my second one. So previous years it was 5 players, 4 fully abled and 1 para-athlete. But going into this series with the extra 2 players was really cool. It was a great concept. Just knowing the standard from the previous year and knowing that, what type of abilities, I guess, were across the green. You knew that you really had to put your best foot forward and, make it known that you sort of deserve to be there and try and prove your own little point,
Yeah, that's great. And I think coming home with the Best Performed Player award, I reckon that would help a hell of a lot. Were you keeping an eye on that sort of table, or was it just sort of all team focused? Are you one to have a look at the individual honours as well as the team stuff?
No, so I didn't even know until after the tournament, and Sophie Krusman, she told me, and looking back at it now, my results were pretty fair. But for me, it's all team. We started off the campaign really well. And from that point, we'll just, trying to hone in and make sure that we became victors at the end of it.
That's awesome. You're a very humble man, I know that much. But you do get, and I see on social media, you get a lot of support from your family and friends when you're playing in these sorts of events. So how special is that for you that you've just got such a good network behind you that follow you every step of the way and are just so grateful to see you kicking goals.
Yeah, it's cool, man. The fact that, my family and friends support me in the decisions that I make, whether it be in sport or in life in general, is just really cool. To get results and sort of, in a way the support's very noticed, but it all makes it a lot more worth it as well, just knowing that they're right behind me and there to help me if I fall into a slump, which everyone does. So that's probably the coolest thing, knowing that I've got a great support behind me and, everyone's there to help, giving a helping hand.
That's awesome. And the goals for the rest of 2025, what are they for you?
Goals for the rest of 2025, mate. Cement myself within my new club, Cabramatta. After being at Engadine for 7.5 years, really loved my journey there and thought there was the right time to take a new step and move to Cabramatta and play amongst some amazing players that are there. But yeah, really cement myself within the club and within the zone, and just to sort of prove my worth, I think, is what I want to achieve in the next sort of 6 to 12 months.
Do you sort of pinch yourself, the amount of players that are playing with you at Cabramatta, or I guess the calibre? You've got so many legends of the sport playing there. Yeah,
for sure. And I guess that was a massive part of the move as well. So I can keep, grabbing plenty of, information off people and continue to learn, was sort of one of the main attractions as well, just playing with those calibre players, and the amount of experience is probably unmatched around most bowling clubs. So yeah, it'll be an awesome challenge, and looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Jack Lewis, you are kicking goals, my friend, and many of them. You're doing an unbelievable job. There's no wonder you're a right-at-home emerging Jackaroo. You played so well at the NDS a couple of weeks ago, and great to have your thoughts and insights into the event. As per usual, mate, you're fantastic, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks heaps, Val.
Jack Lewis, right-at-home emerging Jackaroo, joining me on Without Bias. Great to have his company and insights into the NDS a couple of weeks ago. Same with Beck Van Asch. Great to have her company on the show this evening, as yours as well. Thank you for listening to the show this evening. It's been great to bring you more from the world of bowls here in Australia. And this has, of course, been Without Bias for Tripadil. Roll into your next holiday with Tripadil and Right at Home, the Right Care, Right at Home, Australia's premier in-home care provider. Of course, you can visit bowls.com.au or follow Bowls Australia's social media channels for any more info that you may need on this wonderful, wonderful sport, with plenty more to go in 2025. From me, Val Febbo, it's have a good night, and we'll catch you next week.